Life support, good. Depth, 109 or 28 meters.
A special underwater drone just reached the very bottom of the Puerto Rico Trench, the deepest, darkest place on Earth. The footage it sent back shocked the world, showing things no one thought could survive there. What secrets is the trench hiding in its crushing darkness? Could life really thrive where nothing should? Join us as we explore this shocking discovery, the abyss that should not exist. The Puerto Rico Trench is one of the most mysterious and least understood places on our planet. It lies in the deep Atlantic Ocean, just north of the island of Puerto Rico. Unlike the more familiar parts of the ocean that we can see or explore with submarines and ships, this trench descends into depths that humans have barely touched. Its very bottom has been described as a world that seems impossible, a place so extreme that it challenges the limits of both technology and imagination. Scientists have long considered it the final frontier of Earth, a place where very few have ventured and even fewer have returned with information. At its deepest point, called the Milwaukee Deep, the trench plunges more than 27,000 feet below the ocean surface. To truly understand this, imagine taking the tallest mountain on Earth, Mount Everest, and placing it into this trench. Even the summit of Everest, the very top of the planet itself, would be buried under more than a mile of water. This is not just deep, this is crushing, almost unimaginable. The pressure at this depth is over 16,000 pounds per square inch. That is more pressure than any human body could survive. It is so extreme that even military-grade submarines, built to withstand very high pressure, would be flattened instantly if sent to the bottom without special protection. The trench is also completely dark. Sunlight cannot reach this far down. No natural light ever enters this abyss, so it is an eternal night. The temperature is near freezing, just above 32 degrees Fahrenheit, making it one of the coldest places on Earth. The combination of darkness, freezing cold, and crushing pressure creates an environment that seems almost alive in its hostility. It is a place where nothing is meant to survive. This extreme location also lies in one of the most famous mysterious areas of the world, the Bermuda Triangle. This region has been linked to countless stories of lost ships and airplanes, strange disappearances, and unexplained phenomena. While many of these stories are considered myths or exaggerations, the Puerto Rico Trench itself is real and scientific. The same forces that make it so deadly may also explain some of these mysterious events. Strong currents, shifting tectonic plates, and underwater gas eruptions all combine to make this place unpredictable and dangerous. Despite decades of interest, the trench has remained largely unexplored. Sending machines into this depth is not easy. Many probes and submersibles have been crushed by the immense pressure. Others have disappeared completely, lost to the dark waters with no trace. Every expedition is a gamble. Even when equipment survives, collecting meaningful data is extremely difficult. The trench is remote, its environment extreme, and the cost of exploration is extraordinarily high. For these reasons, it has remained one of the least explored places on Earth, a silent world that hides its secrets beneath thousands of feet of water. The danger is not only from the environment. The trench is formed where two tectonic plates collide. The North American plate is slowly being forced beneath the Caribbean plate, in a process called subduction. This movement is not smooth. It builds tension over centuries, which can release suddenly in violent earthquakes. The 1918 earthquake in this area caused a massive tsunami, destroying towns along the coast of Puerto Rico and killing more than 100 people. Scientists know that another similar event is inevitable, but predicting when it will occur is nearly impossible. The trench is a natural time bomb, storing energy in hidden faults and cracks that stretch for miles under the ocean floor. At the same time, the trench has a deep historical and geological significance. It is a resting place for many shipwrecks, some dating back hundreds of years. Spanish galleons carrying gold and silver were lost here, preserved by the cold, oxygen-poor waters. So, if this place is so deadly, so unreachable, and so silent, the question becomes clear. Why would scientists risk sending a machine where nothing is supposed to survive? And what did it hear when it finally reached the bottom? The machine built to survive the impossible. Exploring the depths of the Puerto Rico Trench is not like exploring space or even the shallow ocean. Traditional exploration methods, such as manned submarines, small remotely operated vehicles, and simple sonar mapping, have failed repeatedly. The pressure at the bottom is over 16,000 pounds per square inch, far beyond what standard submersibles can withstand. Electronics are crushed, cables snap, and communication is almost impossible. Even the strongest materials are bent or shattered. Probes sent decades ago vanished without a trace, and those that returned brought only fragments of incomplete data. Every attempt to study the trench was limited, expensive, and extremely risky. For centuries, scientists could only speculate about the conditions at the bottom. The trench remained largely a mystery. To overcome these challenges, researchers designed a new kind of machine, a titanium and ceramic autonomous underwater drone. This drone was unlike anything that had been sent to the deep ocean before. Its body is built from reinforced titanium, a metal stronger than steel and highly resistant to crushing forces. The outer shell is coated with special ceramic composites, materials that can resist extreme pressure and heat while providing thermal insulation. Every joint, every wire, and every electronic component was engineered to survive where nothing else could. The drone is small enough to maneuver through narrow cracks in the seabed, but strong enough to endure pressures that would flatten conventional submarines. Unlike older probes, this drone does not simply record individual data points. Traditional missions collected sonar readings, temperature measurements, or chemical samples separately. Scientists would then spend months, or even years, trying to assemble these fragments into a coherent understanding. This new drone is equipped with a revolutionary artificial intelligence system, described as a synthesis engine. The AI is not just a passive recorder. It actively combines all data streams in real time. Sonar scans, acoustic signals, temperature readings, chemical analyses, magnetic field measurements, and movement patterns are all integrated simultaneously. The AI detects patterns and anomalies instantly, identifying relationships that human analysts could never see when examining data in isolation. The drone is fully autonomous. It can navigate the trench without constant input from humans. It avoids obstacles, adjusts for currents, and maintains stability under extreme conditions. Its sensors are hypersensitive. Acoustic sensors can detect even the faintest vibrations or rhythmic pulses in the water. Thermal sensors can measure tiny differences in temperature. Chemical sensors can identify changes in water composition caused by hydrothermal activity or unusual substances. Magnetic sensors monitor subtle shifts in the Earth's field. Every piece of data is fed into the AI's processing core, where thousands of calculations occur every second. The descent into the trench begins slowly, yet every mile brings new challenges. At 1 mile below the surface, the drone experiences low light and slightly higher pressure, but the ocean still holds familiar marine life. By 2 miles, sunlight has completely disappeared. The environment becomes dark and cold. Small mechanical noises from the drone are amplified in the quiet, and every movement must be precise to avoid destabilization. At 3 miles, the cold intensifies. The water is near freezing. At 4 miles, the pressure is immense, squeezing every part of the drone. Only the strongest materials and the advanced design keep it intact. By 5 miles, the environment is entirely alien. The drone is surrounded by total darkness, a void where nothing can survive. Sound and light behave differently. Even the smallest disturbance can ripple through the water, potentially affecting sensitive instruments. During this descent, the AI constantly monitors all systems. It compensates for slight currents, adjusts navigation to follow the trench floor, and maintains a steady path over rough terrain. It begins creating a detailed three-dimensional map of the trench, layer by layer, while simultaneously recording temperature, chemical composition, and magnetic anomalies. Unlike previous missions that could only gather isolated snapshots, the AI can create a living model of the trench in real time. Scientists watching the data from the surface are amazed at the level of detail. This drone represents humanity's first real attempt to prove otherwise. The mission was never meant to find life, monsters, or mysteries, but within hours, the AI flagged something no scientist was prepared to explain: the 36-minute heartbeat from the deep. As the underwater drone reached depths of over 5 miles in the Puerto Rico Trench, its advanced artificial intelligence system began detecting something completely unexpected. Among the countless streams of sonar data, chemical readings, temperature measurements, and magnetic field observations, a peculiar signal appeared. It was a rhythmic pulse unlike anything previously recorded in deep-sea exploration. This pulse was steady, repeating, and shockingly precise. It occurred every 36 minutes, with an almost mechanical regularity, yet it did not match any known mechanical or geological source. The AI immediately flagged it as a priority anomaly. At these depths, the ocean is not silent, but it is filled with background noise that can easily confuse instruments. Even the movement of the drone creates vibrations, and distant currents, shifting rocks, and the groan of tectonic plates all generate sounds. The AI system filtered all of this background noise with extreme precision. It subtracted the hum of the drone itself, the faint whisper of moving water, and the slow, low rumble of the Earth's crust. What remained was the pulse, pure and clear, resonating in the total darkness. It was impossible for this sound to be caused by anything human. It was neither machinery nor any previous recorded natural phenomenon in the trench. The sound itself was slow and deliberate. Each pulse was deep, resonant, and filled with a weight that seemed almost physical. Unlike an earthquake, which is sudden and violent, this pulse was calm and continuous, yet powerful. It reverberated through the water, undetectable to the human ear, but unmistakable to the drone's sensors. The AI classified it as an anomaly of the highest importance because its characteristics did not match known geological events. It was steady enough to be predictable, but strange enough to defy explanation. Scientists on the research ship could see the signal in real time, represented as waves on their screens. The pattern was unlike anything they had ever studied. The reaction in the research control room was immediate and intense. Scientists sat in stunned silence, their expressions frozen. Some leaned forward in disbelief, trying to understand what the AI was showing. Others whispered theories to one another, but none of the initial explanations seemed to fit. The steady 36-minute interval made a mechanical failure seem unlikely. There was no evidence of sunken engines, cables, or other machines that could create such a pulse. Geological explanations, such as small earthquakes or tectonic shifts, did not match the regularity and rhythm of the signal. Biological life was considered, but no known organism could produce a pulse strong enough to register across miles of water and rock with such consistency. The AI began running simulations to see if the pulse could be explained by known forces. It compared the signal to all geological and mechanical data in its databases. It measured the amplitude, frequency, and duration of the pulse, comparing it to earthquakes, hydrothermal vent activity, and even underwater volcanic eruptions. None of the simulations matched. The pulse was unique. It was as if something massive, deliberate, and alive was sending a signal through the depths of the ocean. Scientists could not ignore the possibility that this was a phenomenon entirely outside known science. Emotionally, the discovery created a mix of fear and fascination. On the surface, the crew was safe, yet the idea that a rhythmic, powerful signal was emanating from the abyss below created an almost instinctual sense of danger. The scientists knew the trench was already one of the most dangerous places on Earth. Now, the pulse suggested it was active in ways they could not fully predict. The impossibility of the situation created a kind of helpless awe. Every hypothesis failed to fully explain what they were seeing. The pulse was too regular to be random. It was too strong to be a small life. It was not mechanical. It was not a simple geological noise. The comparison to a heartbeat became unavoidable. The pulse resembled the steady thump of a giant organism's heart, slow and consistent, sending vibrations throughout its environment. The idea was terrifying because it suggested motion and life at a scale beyond normal human comprehension. Scientists tried to remain rational, but even the most skeptical were unsettled. This was not a small, faint signal that could be ignored. It was a persistent, low-frequency thrum, echoing through the cold, crushing darkness. It was impossible not to feel that the trench itself, or something within it, was pulsing with intent. As the drone continued its descent, the AI tracked the source of the pulse, integrating sonar data with chemical, thermal, and magnetic readings. Nothing moved in the way that living creatures move. There were no detectable physical structures that could vibrate in this pattern. Every known variable failed to explain the phenomenon. The trench, already considered the deadliest and least explored environment on Earth, had revealed something new, something entirely beyond human understanding. The pulse suggested not just energy, but organization, as if the trench were active and deliberate in its functioning. The moment was one of pure suspense. The ocean below was 5 miles deep, freezing cold and completely dark. The pressure was unimaginable. The environment should have been sterile and silent. Yet here was a rhythm that suggested presence, persistence, and power. It was impossible to ignore, and impossible to fully interpret. The signal made the Puerto Rico Trench feel alive in a way that no human experience could prepare anyone for. If something was pulsing beneath 5 miles of rock and water, the next question was unavoidable. Was the trench just making noise, or was it waking up? Fault lines, tsunamis, and a chain reaction waiting to happen. The Puerto Rico Trench is not just a deep hole in the Atlantic Ocean. It is the meeting point of two of the planet's massive tectonic plates, the North American plate and the Caribbean plate. These plates move very slowly, pushing against each other over millions of years. In this region, the North American plate is being forced underneath the Caribbean plate in a process called subduction. This is not smooth or gentle. The plates stick against one another, tension builds, and eventually, the energy is released in sudden, violent shifts of the seabed. These shifts create earthquakes, tsunamis, and dangerous changes in the underwater environment. One of the most infamous events linked to this trench occurred in 1918. A massive earthquake originated deep within the trench, ripping through the seabed. The energy displaced huge amounts of water, generating a tsunami that struck the western coast of Puerto Rico. Villages were washed away, entire communities destroyed, and more than 100 lives were lost. For over a century, scientists have known that the trench is a potential disaster zone. Yet, because of its extreme depth, darkness, and pressure, studying it directly has always been nearly impossible. The AI-equipped underwater drone changed this forever. Its advanced ground-penetrating sonar allowed researchers to look beneath the seabed in ways never done before. Instead of just mapping the obvious main fault where the two plates meet, the AI revealed a far more complicated system. Hidden within the trench were dozens of smaller, connected cracks called lateral shear zones. These cracks branch out from the main fault, spreading like a web or the shattered pattern of broken glass. Each one is capable of moving independently, and each one is connected to the others in a fragile, tense balance. Before this discovery, earthquakes in the trench seemed random. Small tremors and microquakes appeared unpredictably, making forecasting extremely difficult. But the AI revealed that these random events were actually part of a chain reaction waiting to happen. The lateral shear zones act like a domino system. A small slip on one minor fault can instantly transfer energy to the next fault in the network. That fault slips, pushing stress onto the next one, and the process can cascade across dozens of connected cracks. This system amplifies the potential energy stored in the trench. What might seem like a small, isolated tremor could trigger a massive sequence of events. The AI's analysis showed that the 1918 earthquake was not a single snap, but a cascade failure across multiple faults. This explained why earlier studies had struggled to predict earthquakes in the region. Each minor movement in the network is a warning signal, a subtle creak of the system under stress. Scientists realized that the trench is not a single time bomb, but a minefield of interconnected faults, capable of generating earthquakes far larger than previously anticipated. The trench wasn't just cracked, it was loaded like a weapon. But as the AI kept scanning, it found something even more disturbing than earthquakes. A world without sun that should not be alive. The Puerto Rico Trench is one of the coldest, darkest places on Earth, yet it is far from empty. As the AI-equipped underwater drone scanned the trench, it discovered hydrothermal vents in an area previously considered geologically dormant. These vents were gushing superheated fluids from deep inside the Earth's crust at nearly 400 degrees Celsius. In ordinary conditions, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius at sea level. Under the immense pressure, 5 miles beneath the surface, the fluid remained liquid despite the extreme heat. Scientists describe this state as supercritical fluid. It behaves like both a liquid and a gas at the same time. It can flow through cracks like water, but also dissolve minerals like gas. This bizarre combination creates an environment completely alien to the life most humans know. What makes these vents astonishing is that life thrives around them. In the absence of sunlight, energy cannot come from photosynthesis. Instead, the ecosystem relies on chemosynthesis, a process where bacteria convert chemicals such as hydrogen sulfide and methane into energy. These bacteria form the base of the food chain. Giant tube worms, some over 6 feet long, cluster around the vents, feeding on the bacteria. Eyeless crabs scuttle across the rocky seabed, adapting to the permanent darkness. Ghostly pale fish swim slowly, navigating the environment without vision. Every organism in this ecosystem depends on the chemical energy released by the vents. The AI's cameras revealed bioluminescent organisms drifting in eternal blackness. Unlike normal deep-sea creatures, these organisms responded in waves when the drone's sonar pinged the water. Sections of the seafloor would flash in soft blue and green light, almost as if the creatures were communicating. Scientists speculate this could represent a form of language, a coordinated signaling system in total darkness. It is a level of complexity that suggests intelligence at a collective, biological scale. Among the most shocking discoveries were single-celled organisms that grow to the size of a human fist. These organisms build intricate, delicate shells from sediment, forming tiny living sculptures on the seabed. The AI's chemical sensors also detected traces of radioactive isotopes, such as cesium-137. Around these radioactive patches, dark fungi thrived, absorbing radiation as a source of energy. Similar fungi have been documented in the aftermath of nuclear disasters, but their presence 5 miles down in the trench was unprecedented. Scientists approached the radioactive findings cautiously. One theory proposes that the radioactive material may have originated from a lost nuclear submarine during the Cold War. Nuclear submarines carrying warheads or reactor cores sometimes vanished without record. Slowly leaking radioactive material could provide a localized energy source for fungi and other chemosynthetic organisms. If true, this would mean that human activity decades ago has seeded life in one of Earth's most inaccessible regions, altering the ecosystem in ways previously unimaginable. The scale and variety of life in the trench are astounding. It is not just survival, it is thriving in conditions that would destroy most known organisms. The combination of superheated fluids, crushing pressure, total darkness, toxic chemicals, and radiation should make this place sterile. Yet, it is a vibrant, complex world. Every level of this ecosystem demonstrates resilience. The tube worms grow on toxic chemicals, the fungi feed on radiation, and the bioluminescent organisms create light to communicate. The trench has effectively built a world without sun, where life adapts and even flourishes under impossible conditions. The AI's water and sediment samples revealed genetic material that stunned scientists. Every sample confirmed the presence of life forms completely unknown to science. The DNA analysis suggested that many organisms in the trench had ancient origins, with genetic sequences that predate the Cambrian explosion. Some lineages appear to have existed for hundreds of millions of years in isolation, unchanged by the surface world. The trench functions as a time capsule, preserving life forms that have adapted to extreme conditions while remaining entirely invisible to human observation. Even more surprising was the interaction between organisms and the trench's chemical and thermal environment. This wasn't just a strange life, it was ancient, resilient, and thriving. But when the DNA results came back, the scientists realized they weren't just looking at new species. Time capsules, lost ships, and the engine of legend. The Puerto Rico Trench is not only a window into alien life, it is also a time capsule preserving secrets of Earth's past. As the AI drone collected water and sediment samples, it captured environmental DNA, tiny fragments of genetic material sloughed off by every living organism in the trench. Analysis revealed sequences older than the Cambrian explosion, meaning these genes had survived for more than 500 million years. The trench functions as a biological archive, storing life that existed before complex organisms appeared on the surface. It is a frozen library of evolution, isolated from sunlight, air, and surface disturbances, untouched for hundreds of millions of years. While examining sonar images of the seabed, the AI detected unmistakable shapes of sunken ships. Among these were Spanish galleons from the 16th and 17th centuries. These ships were once loaded with gold, silver, and spices, sailing from the New World back to Europe. Many vanished during storms or pirate attacks, and the trench had preserved them perfectly. The oxygen-poor depths prevented decay, keeping wooden hulls, cannons, and even cargo intact. The clarity of these images allowed scientists to study centuries-old wrecks as if time had paused, offering unprecedented insights into human history and maritime travel. The drone also recorded electromagnetic anomalies in the trench. These irregularities are caused by shifting minerals, fluids, and chemosynthetic life interacting with the Earth's magnetic field. The anomalies can distort compasses, disrupt navigation, and even interfere with ship electronics. This provides a scientific explanation for the legends surrounding the Bermuda Triangle. Ships and planes do not disappear due to magic or aliens. Instead, they can encounter natural forces beyond normal comprehension, caused by the trench's complex combination of geology, chemistry, and biology. Modern maritime disasters reinforce this danger. In 2015, the cargo ship El Faro was lost in a hurricane near the trench. All 33 crew members perished. While extreme weather was blamed, new evidence suggests additional factors. A sudden release of methane gas from the seafloor could have formed massive bubbles in the water, drastically reducing density. Ships passing over such bubbles lose buoyancy and can sink almost instantly. This process may explain how a fully seaworthy vessel could vanish in moments, leaving no trace behind. The AI's findings also connect with the oral history of the Taíno people, indigenous to Puerto Rico. Their legends describe an underworld called Coabe, a realm of spirits deep beneath the sea. Stories speak of glowing lights, strange magnetic forces, and waters that pull people down. Bioluminescent organisms, discovered by the drone, resemble these glowing lights, while electromagnetic disturbances match the magnetic anomalies in the sonar data. Every new sample or image raised more questions than answers. Life, death, legends, and lost ships all pointed to one question the same, one echoing through the control room. What was driving all of this? When the planet answers back, the AI had been processing terabytes of data for hours. Temperature, chemical, magnetic, acoustic, and visual information were combined to detect patterns humans could never see alone. And then it synthesized the unthinkable. Everything the drone had observed, life, heat, radiation, faults, methane, shipwrecks, and anomalies, was connected. The source was a massive mud volcano system buried deep beneath the ocean floor. This system stretches for miles, larger than a major city, and moves in a way that could only be described as breathing. The volcano inhales by drawing cold seawater into a network of fissures, pulling it miles into the Earth's crust. It exhales by releasing a superheated slurry of mud, mineral-rich fluids, and massive methane bubbles. Each exhale corresponds to the rhythmic 36-minute heartbeat the AI first detected. This single system explains not only the seismic stress on lateral shear zones, but also the chemical energy feeding the trench's unique ecosystem. The radioactive fungi, giant tube worms, and bioluminescent creatures all rely on the volcano's activity. Even the electromagnetic anomalies affecting ships can be traced to this breathing engine. The AI revealed that the trench is not a set of disconnected faults and vents. It is a single, interconnected system. Earthquakes, hydrothermal activity, chemosynthetic life, and electromagnetic disturbances all interact as parts of a larger network. The trench operates as a self-regulating system, processing energy, chemicals, and stress in a coordinated cycle. This observation led to the Gaia hypothesis, the idea that Earth is a living system, not a machine. The trench acts like an organ of the planet, pumping chemical blood, regulating faults, and sustaining life in extreme conditions. The implications are staggering. If the trench is a planetary organ, human activity becomes a stressor. Pollution, carbon emissions, and disturbances to the oceans could act like a virus, forcing the system to respond. New vents, increased heat, methane pulses, and radioactive fungi may not be malfunctions, they may be Earth's immune system activating. The planet may have mechanisms to stabilize its temperature, remove excess carbon, or manage chemical imbalances. Humans may unknowingly be triggering responses that are massive, unpredictable, and potentially dangerous. This understanding forces a new ethical perspective. Humanity is no longer merely a visitor to Earth. The trench illustrates that the planet has natural systems far beyond human control. Interfering with these systems risks consequences that are global in scale. The mud volcano is a warning that Earth is dynamic and alive, capable of influencing the climate, the oceans, and even the stability of its crust. It is an organ that can respond to threats with the same precision and force as the systems within a living body. If the planet has organs, and if it can regulate itself, the question becomes frighteningly clear. What happens when it perceives humans as the infection? Could increased methane release, earthquakes, tsunamis, or other geological events be the result of the planet defending itself? While the AI cannot answer, the patterns it revealed suggest the Puerto Rico Trench is one of the planet's vital organs, pulsing and responding in ways that are deeply mysterious and powerful. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.